Now that you've found UBN Radio and discovered our quality talk shows, it's time to spread the word to friends, family, and the universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate, to live, love, laugh, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Fay on ubnradio.com.
And welcome. You are tuned into my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa every Tuesday at naturally high noon at the Universal Broadcasting Network on Sunset Gower Studios in Hollywood, California, and now syndicated every Thursday at 7 and Saturday at 11 on my CNBC News Radio channel KCAA AM 1050, and now also FM 106.5. Yes, you just cannot get away from me trying to splatter you with more hope and happiness. And this is a show that does not promote CNN, constantly negative news, and when there's no gossip, no scandal, and no K-words, no Kardashian talk at all. Instead, I want you to focus on your own reality show and how you can be happier 88% of the time. And yes, it is. It's Marvin Gaye in the studio, not literally, but figuratively. It is the last week of the month when I talk about sexual healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth. And because I am determined to make pleasure a G-rated or a G-spot rated topic to talk about. And this all came about a couple years ago when I decided that it was time that we gave sex a positive airtime. And we've been doing topics on how to have better orgasms, to how to have pleasure with latex, to and then the more serious side, we're talking about how to stop female genital mutilation in Sierra Leone. And today, for the first time, we're talking about a topic that I've not talked about, and I wanted to bring on someone who knew what it was like, not just experience it, but now has become a wonderful expert teacher in the area of infertility. So I went online, looked up a number of experts, and found someone who had a mutual person in common in their lives. Her newest book, Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. The foreword is by Dr. Deepak Chopra, who was at my Agape International Spiritual Center last month. And so as soon as I saw that, I knew she was the one that I would ask to come on. So without further ado, please welcome to my studio, Aimee Raupp. Welcome to you, Aimee.
Thank you so much, Marissa. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and you are hailing all the way from New York, thanks to the magic of Skype.
It's cold out here today.
Yes, I bet it is. I bet it is. That's why I'm over here. So I used to live. You used to live where?
I used to live in California.
Oh, I'm not going to ask how you got punished to go to New York, but that's another show. But I usually start with my guests. Not usually. Sometimes I have a friend. She doesn't have an answering machine. She has a questioning machine. And when you call her, it says, "Who are you and what do you want?" So that's how we're going to start. Who are you and what do you want?
I am a women's health and fertility expert, and my main goal is to empower women so that they have the knowledge to improve their health and ultimately their fertility.
Wonderful. And what do you want? Since it's New Year's Eve week, you don't have to have a resolution, but what are your intentions maybe for next year? What do you want?
Well, really to spread hope and happiness. For me personally or for the demographic I try to reach?
Both.
Both.
Yeah. We'll make this a manifestation for everyone.
I love that. To continue to spread hope and happiness to all those women who are suffering with infertility. And I put that in quotes because one of my hopes for the new year would be that we would stop using that word so much. I think it's quite negative, and to remind women that they are not broken, that this is maybe a challenging time that they're going through, but something that they can definitely work on improving and ultimately become more fertile. It's not an on or off switch,
That's great. And there is power in words, so I join you in that. So instead of saying infertility, you say, what do you call that? So we can do a change in language.
They're going through fertility challenges, or they need some fertility rejuvenation.
Oh, I like that one. So, yes, because there are quite a few. Actually, I looked. I asked you to look up some statistics, and you told me that 1 in 8 women and their partners are affected by fertility challenges in the U.S. That's a lot. One out of 8. Now, is that more in the last, let's say, decade, or is it the same and we just know more about it?
Probably a little bit of both.
Okay.
But I definitely think the numbers seem to be increasing for sure.
It seems like it.
And there seems to be several reasons why. Sorry, what was that?
No. We're just getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm just looking at my.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So go ahead. So what are some of the reasons?
I think it's mainly environmental, meaning the stress we're under, the food we eat, the products we put on our skin. All of that can lead to what is called endocrine disrupting. And that disrupts our hormones and affects both women and men and their ability to get pregnant. Interesting.
And so the environment is, I actually had Fran Drescher on, and she said the same thing around cancer, that it is environmental products that are leading to many of the cancers that we can actually avoid and prevent. So you're saying the same thing, that is some of the reasons why infertility fertility rejuvenation is something that we're looking towards or seeing a higher incidence of.
Yes, there's a field of science called epigenetics, which you've probably heard of if you're a Deepak fan.
Yes.
That focuses on the fact that the way we live our life, and so the stresses we're under, how much sleep we get, the food we eat, the skincare products we use, that can either affect us and turn on genes or turn them off. So it can really affect our aging process and also our disease states. So we're not born with this genetic, template that's set in stone the way they once thought, that our genes actually can shift depending on our lifestyle. And so that's a big part of my book, is teaching women in particular how to, reevaluate their lifestyle so they can then improve their fertility. And ultimately, I always say fertility is a side effect of really good health. So if we're in optimal health, we should be able to get pregnant even in our 40s. And so my whole program is about really teaching people how to improve their lifestyle so they can positively affect their epigenetics and actually fight the aging process so they can get pregnant even later in life.
And that's part of your story.
It is. I got pregnant, on the second month of trying at the age of 40 and just gave birth. I gave birth 2 days before my 41st birthday.
Wow.
And we plan to have a second one in about a year. So, and I think it's truly a testament to the work I've been doing. I wrote Yes, You Can Get Pregnant about 2 years ago. It came out a year and a half ago. And I very much have been living that lifestyle for probably 5 years, maybe 6 years, and something I've always preached. And for us as a couple, I had my husband following a similar lifestyle. And that just means like diet, lifestyle, the way we manage our stress, how much sleep we get, the skincare products that we use, and really,
practicing what you preach
with what your radio show is about, that health and happiness, and believing in your body. So hope is a big part of this puzzle, in my opinion, that women should have hope and faith in their body, that it can do what it's meant to do. I never gave up on that hope. And I always try to encourage women to get back to that place of believing again.
Yeah, because I do know from personal experience, I have family members as well as some friends who have lost the hope. So they've tried, they've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on IVF, thousands of dollars on any kind of alternative treatments, and they've lost the hope. And for me, I believe you create your reality, and the power of words and the power of your belief systems. That's not the place where you're going to get pregnant again, but it's so difficult to restore the hope. Number one.
And
yeah, go ahead.
Well, to, speak about our teacher, Deepak Chopra, I had a conversation with him one day, and I had asked him, he talks a lot about how you can fight the aging process with your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you never talk about fertility. You talk about heart disease or Alzheimer's or any of these age-related diseases. And he had said, the same thing as for fertility. He has his 5 pillars of health, which I might forget, but I think it's sleep, meditation, consciousness, diet, and movement. Mm-hmm. And he said, when you live in alignment with all of those, that our health should be optimal enough to be able to get pregnant. But the one thing that these women also need to learn to do is to let go. Mm-hmm. And I made a joke and I said, you come to my clinic and tell these women to let go, when they've been trying so hard to get pregnant. And he said, but I knew what he meant because I've studied him for so long, that he just meant, you've placed the order, if you will, with the universe, or you've put this request in. Now align yourself with the work towards that feels the best, and then let go and just assume it will come to you in the right time, in the right place. That he always says, right from point A to point B, there's a million ways to get there, and you never knew which way you're going to go. Yeah. And so I think that's a huge piece of this. And when women start to lose that hope, I always see it as my job to help remind them of the fact that, they are doing this work, if you will, to really improve their health and to focus on the things that already feel good in their life and the joy that they're already experiencing. And maybe they can't find hope yet when it comes to their fertility, but they can find hope and joy in other aspects of their life. Yeah. And that will help draw in, I think, and change their attitude a little bit towards the bigger.
I use the analogy, you plant a seed and you see a little sprout. The worst thing you can do is grab the sprout and look at the roots and go, why aren't you growing? Just to really just allow that. And I love the way you said that, just put that in the to-do pile of the friendly universe and not have to take that all on yourself, because there's so many BS belief systems that I know, my niece is holding around. Well, maybe, I'm being punished for something, or, I'm not going to be a good mom or something. It's like, that is such BS, and thinking that way is not helping what you're trying to do. But what I do like about your book and about your philosophy is there are things you can do. And I think that we in this particular time are guilty of not paying attention to simple things like sleep. And we expect ourselves to run ourselves ragged, and then we don't know why we don't feel good, and then we go to the doctor and we're given some kind of mood-altering pill to make us feel better, when in actual fact we just need sleep. Now, how many hours do you tell your clients?
Between 7 and 8.
Okay, so 7 and 8 on sleep, and I don't want you to give away your book, but just so if we go down the pillars, meditation is definitely a good technique. I tell my clients as well, and simple meditation is just getting your crazy critic in your head to stop talking. So you're just
I spend
not
like a chapter of the book on that.
Okay, perfect. And then food. Let's talk about food. So you're conscious food, organic. Try not to. Are you plant-based? Do you suggest plant-based? I have a daughter that's vegan.
I recommend animal protein as well, plant and animal.
Okay, plant and animal.
More plant than animal, but there are a lot of nutrients in animal-based products. You just have to be very careful of where they come from. So I only recommend eating grass-fed meats or pastured raised, everything organic, non-GMO feed. A lot of the studies that are out there that say meat is cancer causing are done on animal products that come from commercially, raised animals or farm factory animals. And so of course they're going to have inflammatory, foods. They're eating inflammatory foods and cancer causing foods. So of course if we eat them, then that can increase our risk. So you have to be very particular about the kinds of animal products that you do eat. But I do think having some in moderation is very important for fertility.
Absolutely. I'm just really excited too that we as a society are slowly moving, sort of kicking and screaming, but now the data is coming to support the move to more healthy food options. The latest what the World Health Organization, processed meats, level 1 carcinogens. It's like, yay, at least now we have some hard proof that this is really not that good for you. Now, it's not that easy to say goodbye to bacon, but it is absolutely, I know that it's my responsibility to do what I can for my health. And so organic is good. Now, let's move to okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that's the biggest piece to me of the book is this empowerment, that there are these choices we can make, and we're making choices every day. So just start shifting into this, empowered place of making educated decisions for, I always say not just your own health, but you're going to host a life. You got to really think about what you're putting in your body every day. And that's not just food, that's your thoughts, and what your skincare is, all of those things to realize that, in Chinese medicine, we call the uterus the child's palace. I don't know if you know Chinese, but the term for uterus is Qigong. I'm assuming you do. But the term for uterus is Qigong.
That was great.
Child's palace. Well, I know medical Chinese. I can't
talk
to you.
Well, that's the other reason why I chose you, because your strategy includes Chinese, which I am. Yeah. And so I'm a little bit biased. Yes, I do know Chinese. My producer is just laughing his butt off right now because I'm always promoting Chinese, because I say, now you know why I say happiness 88% of the time, because 8's a lucky number in Chinese, good fortune, blah, blah, blah. So yes, it is wonderful that you went to the Eastern side for a solution. And I did read in your packet that you tried the Western and it didn't work. And so you went to the source, which I call Chinese as the source. I actually teach Qigong and Tai Chi. Yeah, balanced Tai Qigong.
I recommend that in the book as well.
Oh, yay.
The energy medicines. But we call, so the palace, the uterus, is the translation for Qigong is child's palace, which the uterus in Chinese is Qigong. So I always use that analogy with women that, you're preparing the palace, we say. So it better be very palatial, right? It better be royal, superb, fertile ground, healthy ground. You want to welcome a life in, and that's very, in Chinese medicine, that's very important to us. We even go as far as you shouldn't watch scary movies when you're pregnant because it can frighten the child, right? Affect their spirit when they come out, So we have, and all of these, but we have all of these theories, if you will, that I think are extremely important that we need to pay attention to, in addition to diet and, sleep. But that there's a lot of the emotional component. I have women do a uterine mantra every day and talk to their uterus, and I think all of that is extremely important.
Yes. I'll tell a little funny story, not to embarrass my mother, but she did the best that she can. But she used to say that she used to tell at family dinners that when she was pregnant with my brother, she looked at all these beautiful flowers, tulips in Holland and everything, and he turned out so beautiful. And then she went and saw these very scary masks, and that's why I didn't turn out so beautiful. That's why I went to therapy. No, but it is a very strong belief system in the Chinese culture.
And, even like you said, I have the 80-20 rule as well, or 88-12, that works as well. But that, we just should have more joy in our life than anything else. I think, one of my teachers always says, even if you're just in that happy, positive place 55% of the time, it's still better than, only 40%, right? Just a little more than half, So I don't want to put too much pressure on women who are already not feeling very hopeful, that then they're like, oh, great, now I'm really screwing up my fertility because I'm not happy. But to realize there's other things in your life to be grateful for, and to even focus on them if you can't, find hope in the fertility just yet.
Yeah, one of my other teachers who's now transitioned says you wake up, Dr. Wayne Dyer would say 5 things you're grateful for as soon as you wake up in the morning. I'm a recovering overachiever and control freak. And so I say 8 because lucky number 8, you say 8 things that you're grateful for every morning because it really does affect. And our teacher Deepak says that there's 2 emotions that make your cells function in harmony and 2 that make your cells not function in harmony and destroy the rhythm. anger, hostility, and then there's 3 that make your cells work in harmony: peace, joy, and the one that I love is creativity, which is kind of surprising. You think it's peace, love, joy, but it's actually peace, love, and creativity. So let's talk about, and if those of you who have just joined us, I am here with a specialist in women's health and fertility, and her name is Aimee Raupp, and I did find her. She's another student of one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Deepak Chopra. She's got books that we'll talk about after the break, but she's here to help anyone in sexual healing arena of getting pregnant. And her book, Yes, You Can Get Pregnant, is available. And we're flashing that up on the screen right now at Amazon. And the foreword was written by Dr. Deepak Chopra. So you'll have to go out and get that book. And it's a topic that, I want to put a moose on the table right now, because when it comes to infertility, there's that and I hate hearing people talk about this. It's like, well, if you're meant to get pregnant, you would be pregnant, or it's all about, let's see, the other misnomer is if your genes are not meant to continue, you will not get pregnant. And it's like the cruelest things that people can actually say, and I hear them say that out loud, and I want to just take them, transition them myself. But I mean,
You're
why?
Abraham
yeah, you can tell, huh?
Abraham follower.
Yeah.
Transition
Are
is
you
one of our
too? Are you too? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just taught
Yeah,
on the cruise where Abraham
Oh,
was.
did you?
Yes, I taught Tai Chi on the top lawn deck of the Celebrity Solstice. Yeah, it was amazing. We're gonna have to talk about that later. So, so when we are thinking thoughts that are contrary to your hopefulness, as we were talking about before, or choosing belief systems, what would you say the best belief systems, someone who really, 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 really wants to get pregnant and they have not gotten pregnant, what would you say to them as far as choosing what to say to themselves? I think this is critical. Give them something to replace that BS and that cruel stuff that I just said, and I'll never say again.
I have a mantra that I repeat numerous times throughout the book, and it is, I have the power to change my health and improve my fertility. And that's what I would recommend you start saying over and over again. So even if you don't 100% believe it, you do start to realize that you have power over your choices that can affect your health, and then to start to realize that your health affects your fertility. So we really want to get you back in optimal health, and then you will have optimal fertility.
Right.
And I think just handing back over, like, I have the power to change my health and improve my fertility.
Beautiful. And you have to follow up that statement with actual action, because willingness without action is a fantasy. So there are those areas. We talked about sleep, 7 to 8 hours. We talked about food. Now, here's the one that I love. When I went to your website, that I never remember this. I hear it once in a while, and I don't really take it to heart because I buy products usually based on price because I'm Chinese. And I don't necessarily look at the ingredients, and I should. But that skin is your largest organ, and that we're not careful about what we put on our skin. And again, Fran Drescher talked about antiperspirants and deodorants and how they have some really harmful things that can lead to cancer. So give it to me. What do we put on our skin that we should be careful about? Not necessarily stopping, but be careful about. And what should we start putting on our skin?
Well, my rule of thumb is if you can't eat it, you shouldn't put it on your skin.
Oh.
So, and there's makeup out there that we could actually eat. So don't worry. I have makeup on.
Okay.
They're usually dyed with fruit pigments rather than, toxic colors.
Okay.
So there's a long list. Actually, there's like the top 12 ones to avoid, but generally parabens, sulfates, things like polyethylene glycol. You can Google the top 12 things to avoid, but there's also these two great apps. One is called SkinDeep and one is called Think Dirty.
Oh, we just lost you on that one. Skin Deep.
And you can literally scan barcodes and see toxicity level. And so Skin Deep, that's put on by the Environmental Working Group. And then Think Dirty is another independent app. And so my rule of thumb is with Skin Deep to stay at a 2 or lower. Anything higher than a 2 becomes very toxic. And they rate them based on cancer-causing agents, reproductive harmful agents, and then allergens. So what we don't realize is that so many of our bath and beauty products have what are called endocrine disrupting agents. So like Fran would be talking about breast cancer, and that's the same thing as fertility. You know, those are endocrine disrupting, so they disrupt our estrogen. Same thing as, just a quick aside, is pesticides in our food. They are they're called xenoestrogens, and they mimic estrogen in the body, so they further disrupt our estrogen levels and our hormone levels.
And those are in the animals to make them produce more, right? That's why they have them.
They could be in all the vegetables too. Anything that's sprayed with pesticides will have those xenoestrogens. So that's why it's important to buy organic. But when it comes to skincare, you really want to avoid these toxic chemicals. There's so much research going on about even the influence that, say, I have over my child that's in utero when I use that skincare, that I affect their fertility down the road.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's called the fetal exposure. So they talk about like BPA in the plastics. That's a big one that can affect. So that's probably what happened to, the generations that, like my generation and younger, because we were drinking out of plastic bottles. And, that's when plastics were really first introduced and we got exposed. But the good news is you can actually turn that clock around.
Okay, good. I was just going to say, it's like, are you saying we're doomed? And then another thing to blame our parents for. So... No,
it's shown that actually as we, limit our exposure, our body actually just starts to clean out the toxins. And especially if we start to eat clean and live clean, that our body can then clean out those toxins. And then our cells will regenerate themselves. I mean, Deepak shows the science too of how no cells in our body are the same right now as they were just 2 years ago. Every single cell has turned itself over, every single cell.
So to remember that. So it's not a long-lasting death sentence for your skin or your cells.
Right.
Good.
That you can rejuvenate it. But if you're trying to currently get pregnant and it's not working, I would really urge people to look at their skincare routine. And that's like shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant, makeup, body wash, all of those things.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. What were those 2 apps? That was such a big jewel nugget. Skin Deep.
And Think Dirty.
Think Dirty. I should remember that one.
Yeah.
So Think Dirty, Skin Deep, 2 apps that actually automatically rate the toxicity, quote unquote, of the product that you are using on your skin. Wow. And I bet that many of them are brand name household products.
Yes.
Without naming any names, just in case I get them to sponsor a show. But I'm having...
It was so bad that I started my own skincare line. I realized that there wasn't a lot out there, so I started making my own homemade products because I have such sensitive skin, and I thought there's not... But that's how bad it is. That even the natural lines are really not so clean. So you'll see.
Right, right. It's a scary thing. It's going to be a scary enlightening, I have a feeling. But that's great. And so now you have an alternative also. And your website is Aimee, AIMEERAUPP.com. How's that for research? Did I do good?
Yeah. Thank you.
And all of that information is there for you, from all the natural ways to improve your health first, which will then lead to improved and rejuvenated fertility so that your child's palace can be plush and juicy. I should do your commercials from now on, I think. That's great. And we are now at that point where we thank the sponsors who made today's show possible. So we'll be back in 2 and 2. Peace in and peace out.
How do you prepare a young teen for the sexual culture they're growing up in today? Science teacher Dave Beck's hilarious and harrowing book, They Asked You What? does just that. It gives the student, their parents, and teachers the knowledge and tools to deal with the reality of today's overwhelmingly sexual American culture. And it's a great, fun, thoughtful read. Read it yourself. Give it to your teen and/or their teachers. Available for Kindle download and softcover purchase at Amazon.com.
You want to shift your sex drive into full throttle? This is Dr. Marissa, affectionately called the Asian Oprah, inviting you to tune into my monthly series called Sexual Healing with Dr. Marissa, the new Asian Dr. Ruth, every last week of the month, determined to make pleasure a G-rated topic, exclusively on UBN Radio every Tuesday at noon Pacific Standard Time, or www.ubnradio.com, or on the free app, for a show about hope and happiness. Peace in and peace out. And welcome back. You are tuned in to my weekly talk radio show called Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa. And this is the last week of the month. So we have been talking to Aimee Raupp about fertility rejuvenation, formerly known as infertility, and because it is sexual healing, and we've been given some great advice on how to improve our health so that we all can be fertile. Well, maybe not the men. Well, yeah, actually the men too, because of how they're improving with respect to sleep and diet and skin products and mind and emotion. And I think we're missing one. What else are we missing?
We are missing, so if we're going by Deepak's 5 pillars, right? So there's sleep, meditation, consciousness, movement.
Movement.
Yeah, movement.
Okay. So what kind of movement is good movement? I think any kind of movement. We've gotten to the point where we don't move at all. No thanks to couch potato being an American pastime, number one, and being so busy or sitting in traffic for so long that there's no time or energy to do movement. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then there's also the over movement. You know, in New York City, there are a lot of women who over exercise as well. So it might be you need to pull it back in a little bit or amp it up a little bit.
What would you say the ideal amount of movement is a week?
I'd say to exercise 30 to 45 minutes, 3 to 4 times a week, maybe 5 times.
Okay. 3, 4, 5 times a week.
The key is...
I'll take the 3.
Really is to listen to your body, right? You know, it's like
right.
I have some women that if they exercise, they feel more tired. And I have some women that exercise and feel great. So to start to, you know, and that's so much of the work I do is to teach people to be back in touch with their body and what it's telling them. Mm-hmm. So to listen to your body. How do you feel with exercise? And some women are underweight and need to gain a couple pounds, and some are overweight and need to lose a couple pounds, and that will improve their fertility. So it does depend case by case, but generally movement is very healthy for us, you know, whether it's yoga, you know, something that's maybe not as intense, like, you know, you're just doing some easy movements, or you're doing very intense yoga, or you're running marathons, you know, so different exercise works for different people. So you really have to see what works for you.
Right. And balance, nothing extreme.
Balance is the key. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my website, by the way,
Oh,
for balance. So.
Balance. Yeah, get balanced. Right, there you go.
Yeah. So okay, so now the funny, not so funny side is I've heard also people say, well, you're not getting pregnant because you're not having enough sex. Mm-hmm. So that is another one of those moose on the table. Do you coach people on like how often they should have sex, or is there a better time to have sex, or, you know, once if they've done all these things for health and they are wanting to get pregnant, what is your advice on the actual baby-making activity?
Well, I used to talk a lot about having sex around ovulation. Mm-hmm. And as I learned in my practice, I realized that then couples only have sex when they're ovulating, and that affects men because they feel like they're there just to donate sperm rather than to be enjoyed as a partner. Mm-hmm. So my new rule of thumb is I want you having sex 2 to 3 times a week every week. Uh-huh. And to pay attention to the fertile moments, you know, or in your cycle, So for women, say a woman had a 28-day menstrual cycle, so she ovulated around day 14. I'd want them to start trying to have sex around cycle day 9 and probably every 24 to 48 hours. Mm-hmm. But there was a recent New York Times article that came out and showed that women who had more sex in general, not even around their fertile times, were actually more fertile. And think it has something to do with the immune system, that it actually trains the immune system to start thinking about hosting a pregnancy.
I'm surprised more men haven't flashed that article.
Exactly. Well, it's funny. I had a new patient last week, and her husband had seen the article, and he left it on the dining room table. She told me about it. And they're going through fertility challenges. And he feels like he's only useful to her around ovulation, and it affects the relationship.
Absolutely.
I say in my book, and I always say in the practice, like, babies are made out of love, And so if you're in a partnership and you're trying to create life, like, I want you to get back to having fun when you have sex, not just, oh, honey, I'm ovulating sex. That's not so fun.
Yeah, that is. Would you even say I would think that just not even having sex for that primary purpose. The primary purpose for sex is the intimacy and the relationship, and then you take your eyes off of that, and then it'll probably happen. Is that scientific or possible?
Right. Well, I think it is somewhat scientific. Like, there's a lot of discussion, and I discuss it a lot in my book, of autoimmune illnesses, and they're on, the rise, and that a lot of these fertility challenges are actually immune related. And so we see in Chinese medicine too, when there's an autoimmune component, we actually say the body's attacking itself, right? So we say it's self-attacking self as well, like emotionally there's some attack going on.
Right.
And so when there's this pressure to get pregnant this time of month and have sex, they're very hard on themselves, right? I have to get pregnant this month. If I don't, my body's failing me, my relationship, like all of these things, all of these pressures. And so the second you kind of let that go and ease up on yourself,
yes,
when often the pregnancy will actually happen and stick.
Yes. Yeah. That's when couples come to me for coaching, one of my first questions is, how much sex are you having? and then the second question is, how do you feel about yourself? Not about each other, but how are you feeling about yourself? And then, so we vehemently agree. And I so love the fact that you love Chinese.
I love Chinese. I love Chinese. I love self-love. I mean, I always joke that the basis of my book is to get someone back in touch with their body, to love themselves, and to go for joy. Mm-hmm. And your health will then thrive, and your fertility will thrive, because so many people are out of sync with that right there.
Yes. I'm so glad I picked your book and I came to you.
Coincidences, as our teacher would say.
Yes, no such thing, right? Synchronicities, not coincidences. Exactly. Yes. So what would you say to, I'll just make this personal, to my niece and my nephew-in-law right now, who have been, okay, what about adoption? Because at what point do you say, when you've tried? So let's say you've done all of these things. Okay, that's which rarely are people going to do all of these things, but I'm hoping and encouraging that the show will plant the seed. So let's say that you're doing this for a year, okay, and you're still not getting pregnant. And I'm not going to worst case scenario, but I did want to talk about adoption for a second. And I'm sure because of your area, at what point do you consider this, and what is your stance on all of that?
Well, for me, I always joke that I'll sit in the optimistic corner for as long as possible until someone wants to come and join me, So I never give up hope. Maybe to a fault at times, but when a woman is ready to talk about adoption, she'll bring it up and we'll discuss it. And I think there's never any harm in pursuing it. I don't, I think if that's something that they're thinking about down the road, then by all means they should look into it. And I often think too that, it frees you up. It takes a little pressure off of yourself. And that might actually enhance your fertility because it shifts your emotional state a bit.
Okay, that's good. Now, your story, going all the way circle at the end of the show. So did you ever think that you weren't going to get pregnant? Because you mentioned you're like 39. Now, in the old days, we were told that, late 30s is probably, and there's less and less chance. And if you're over 40, you might as well forget it. I myself, I have this little kind of, I don't know if you're going to think it's funny, but people ask me all the time, when's the best time to have kids and get pregnant? And my response is, well, in your 20s, you are not very emotionally ready, but you're physically really ready and your body can handle it. When you're in your 30s and 40s, you're emotionally prepared, but you're physically, you're a little bit screwed unless you follow your prescription and are well.
So in many other societies, outside of the United States, women get pregnant in their 40s and even their 50s. There's a lot less pressure on age and aging, in other societies. We tend to just really focus on it. So I think that does play a role. Mm-hmm. I personally, I had some worries at times, but I always knew I would have children. I just never had that doubt. And that's a question I ask every single woman I meet. Do you believe that you will get pregnant, or do you believe you will have children? And I'd say 9.9 times out of 10, they say yes. And they do go on to have children, so they do believe. And so when there's that belief there, it's just like we were talking, the belief system is there.
Right.
We just have to find our way back to best supporting it, right? Or to getting in alignment with it.
Right.
And
the ones
I never gave up on that.
Now, so for all the listeners who have lost that belief, okay, because of all the thousands and the time and the frustration. So your advice would be get that belief back.
You get that belief back. Focus on things that are working in your body currently, like that you have a healthy bowel movement every day, or you can actually get a good night's sleep, or, your skin looks better because you changed your diet a little bit. Maybe just focus on the things that are working. And then I think you can start to look at your fertility and start to realize that it too can work. Because a lot of women see it as separate, but it's the same system, right? If your body's working, a woman's body is meant to procreate. So to get back to that belief that it was meant to do this, I just need to find the best way to support it.
Right. Beautiful. That's great advice. Step by step, little by little. Yeah. And we'll get everybody into our optimistic corner.
Exactly.
Yeah. People ask me all the time, why are you so positive? And my only response, and every time, is it just feels better. Why wouldn't I be? So I'm glad to meet someone else who prescribes to that. So last words, so first, to listeners who want to rejuvenate their fertility, step one.
Step one, start believing in your body again.
Start believing in your body. And your website, we mentioned before, for those who just tuned in, is AimeeRaupp.com, AIMEERAUPP.com. And your book that is out already, yes, is called Yes,
You Can Get Pregnant.
Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. Well, it's been a delight. Do you have anybody that you would like to give a peace and love shout out to?
My husband and my baby, James.
Oh,
yeah, he's 12 weeks tomorrow, and he's very sweet and lovely. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
He's in the other room right now.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you for taking time out to talk to us about revitalizing your fertility and getting you juicy and pregnant again.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Before you go, Asian Oprah giveaway. I talked you into something.
Okay. 3 signed copies of Yes, You Can Get Pregnant.
Oh, that's very generous of you. Thank you. I usually only ask for 1.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. We'll take the 3. So the first 3 people we'll give 1 away to my LinkedIn listeners. I'll give 1 away to my Facebook listeners. So message me on both. And the first one to sign the guest book at 4balance.org. That's my website. Will get a signed copy from Aimee Raupp on Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. So especially for anyone who has friends or themselves or are looking to get pregnant, this would be the perfect holiday. Oh, actually, we're past the holidays. This is New Year's Eve. Perfect New Year's book for you. So happy New Year to you. Blessed for your new family. And thanks again. Xie xie. I don't know if you know any Chinese, but xie xie to you for coming on. All right. That was great. My first show on rejuvenating fertility, formerly known as infertility. That was a wonderful thing. And we're at the end of the show. Time for Balance Bar. The 21-day fast from complaining starts round 55, January 1st, 2016. For those of you who've been following me since July 2011, we are now another round to help stop the favorite pastime for many Americans and actually anybody all over the world who like to complain. It's the antidote and the prescription for a happier and less complaining, hurting your ears life. So please do sign up at my website, the number 4balance.org. And that way, if you do go 21 days in a row without complaining, you can contact me and get a free pack of my motivational cards, 52 card, Pick Me Up, Stacking the Deck for Life Balance with Dr. Marissa, which house 21 of those tips. As well, we are now in the stores, both Android and Apple, the No Complaints companion app to the fast. And it's really fun, and I've gotten great feedback that people have fun challenging their friends on not complaining. It has a way to calculate your scores, and every time you do hit the complaint button, you get babies crying. And then when you don't complain, you get lots of cheers and applause. In fact, you get the same cheer as my guests do on this show. So please do pick up that app. It's only 99 cents. And as always, all of your proceeds go towards supporting my peace work around the planet. And that's it for the end of 2015. Thank you so much for all of your support as we continue to grow and splatter hope and happiness on Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Pei. That's P for positive, E-I. And remember, it's all about balance. Peace in and peace out.
Don't take away the part of me that wants to stay. It's all I want to hear my life and sing along. For without it, there's no laughter, no tears, lonely days after. No memories for the way things used to be. Many a friend has stopped along the way. You know, strange